Welcome everybody for coming. I'm gonna wait until 8 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. rather. So just a couple more minutes and then I will begin. So thank you so much for coming and joining me this evening. And I will wait until 7:30 and then I will start. Hi Lisa. I'm just gonna wait a couple more minutes and then I will begin. I also know for the live streaming there tends to be a little bit of a delay, so I just want to give people a chance to come and drop in. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, and we will be starting in a couple of minutes. Hi Sharon, thanks for joining me tonight. And for everybody else, welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm going to get started at 7:30. I just wanted to open the live feed up so that people could find it easier, but I will begin at 7:30. Hi Christine, thank you for joining me tonight. So I'm going to start in about 1 minute. I'm just going to wait for people to find the live window on their Facebook feed, and I will begin soon. Okay, well, good evening and welcome. My name is Alana Wilcox, and I'm very thrilled to be with you tonight as part of the teacher spotlight that the Wool and Fiber Arts group has put on. So a great big thank you again to Ellen for doing this. This is a wonderful opportunity for people like myself that have been impacted by the closure of festivals and workshops to be able to come and share what we love and our livelihood with you. So I know that this group has grown exponentially. It's wonderful and crazy at the same time. And I know some people know me and some people are meeting me for the first time. So I'm just going to do a quick little rundown for those of you that are meeting me for the first time tonight. A little bit of a who, what, where, when, why about me. And then the program that I have planned tonight is to share with you some of my homework assignments and my classwork assignments from the spinning certificate course that I participated in order to become a master spinner. So just to begin with, again, like I said, my name is Alana, and I wear lots of different hats. So I am a spinner, I'm a fiber artist, I'm an author, I'm an instructor. So I participate in the fiber art world in many different ways. And this week, I was really sad to hear that the final workshop that I had planned. It was going to be at Rhinebeck, and the festival, the in-person live one has been canceled. So there's been, a lot of opportunities of meeting people face to face that I really am going to be missing out on this year. And fingers crossed next year, all of those canceled venues and opportunities will run again. But in the interim, I'm trying to, shift and switch to delivering instruction online. So as far as what I do lots of different things. So I have different cameras going on. I'm going to switch over to my website so I can show you a few of the different ways that you can learn from me if you're interested in either spinning or dyeing. And I do other things as well. So I'm going to switch over to the computer screen here. Okay. So just give it a second because there is a little bit of a delay on the Facebook feed. So I just want to make sure that you're looking at the same thing as I am. So hello, Susan and Karen. Nice to meet you. So here's my website, and on my website it's just my name, AlanaWilcox.com. You can go check out. I have lots of different workshops and ways you can learn. So one of the things that I've just put up is this workshop called Creating a Digital Dye Notebook. And basically, it's just a really great way for you to keep track and keep organized of all of the different components and ways that you might need like information as a dyer, right? So to keep track of your inventory, to keep track of your recipes and formulas. It's really just a very comprehensive way of keeping all of your dye notes organized, but it also can be used if you're a knitter, a spinner, and doing project planning, which then goes to the second way that you can learn from me or with me. Because as a fiber artist, I thought it would be really fascinating if I could share with people the different ways that I create a project. So literally going from like start to finish. So you can watch a project unfold in like my thinking process and ask me questions, and you could really see it from beginning to end. So I just started this new format of learning with me, and so I called it Ask Alana About, because I didn't really know what to call it. But like I said, it's basically like watching me as an artist, but you can come to these live events and ask me questions. So the first one is free, so if you want to see what it's about, you can just head to my website and check it out there, the Watch Now. It will go and load up this video, so you can click on it, and I have links down below to different things that I mention in the video. So there's lots of different series or like sessions. So far I've covered the beginning of a project, and basically what I'm going to be doing is starting with here, let me switch back so we can have a face-to-face conversation. Okay, so basically what it's going to be about is I'm picking a movie. So I picked The Wizard of Oz, and I am going to pick different characters from the movie, and I'm going to translate those characters or those scenes or those components into yarns, and then I'm going to merge that all together into a shawl. So far I've discussed things like how to curate a project page digitally, so how to pool all of your resources together, how to use a digital photograph for color information. So it's just, I don't know how to really describe it. So if there's anyone that has come to it and you want to leave in the comments your experiences or your thoughts about it for other people, that would be great. But like I said, the first session is free, so if you want to go check it out and just see, I give lots of interesting tips, I think, and tricks to just really make the creation process more, I want to say inspiring, but instead of just like going to the store and buying yarn and following what a pattern designer says to do, I really want this to be a way that I can help kind of get you to think about approaching your projects, whether it's spinning, knitting, crocheting, weaving, whatever it is that you do, in a more creative way. So that's another thing that you can check out on my site. And then the last thing is that I've been working behind the scenes for a couple of months now on trying to take my in-person workshops and bring them online. So one of them that I've taught in the past with much success is spinning for socks. And so the workshop is not quite ready yet. However, I did list it, and so I have a pre-sale registration. So the workshop was going to be listed at $50. However, if it sounds like it's something that you're interested in, you would like to learn more about, I'm going to have a little bit of a discount. So it's going to be $10 off if you pre-register. And if you do that, then as soon as it goes live, and I'm thinking that's going to be sometime in July, I just want to make sure that I have all of the components for it together so that it's going to be a top-notch workshop. And I know that there's been a lot of, bad feelings about the whole Craftsy Blueprint website taking down workshops. So I just want you to know, if you buy any of my workshops, as long as I'm alive and paying my website bill, you will have access to these workshops, okay? And I'll make sure that I put in my will, please make sure that anyone that signs up for this workshop can have it in access to it indefinitely. So it's something that will be up and you can reference as many times as you want once you purchase it. So that's a little bit about the what I do. And I also have a book. So for the last vendor spot that I had for the last festival, I was doing a little bit on my book, A New Spin on Color. So basically it just focuses on all the different ways that you can approach working with dyed top and how to spin it. But it's got tons of tips and tricks in there, and just the things that I really use when I'm going to spin. So this was part of the spinning certificate coursework that I'm going to talk to you about tonight. Okay, so let me just check my list. So we did the who am I, what do I do, where you can learn from me, right? So you can learn from my from me on my website. But also, if you do choose to go and join me during the Ask Alana About series that I have, if you share that project with other people that you think might be interested in it after you see the intro video, if 2 people say that they heard about it from you, then I will send you a free, invite so that you can join the next one free. So I really appreciate all of the word of mouth advertising that people have helped me with. A lot of the projects that I do are kind of unique, like with my book, I self-published it. So anytime people can help me out by spreading the word, I do appreciate it. So that's a little bit of my background. So as far as, why would you want to learn from me? Well, like I said, I've gone through what is called the OHS Spinning Certificate Program. And what that means is that it's a 6-year program where you go for about 9 days over the summer, and you have this intense instruction from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then after that, you go home and you have all of these homework assignments. So if you weren't with me during the first time that I did this spotlight, oh no. Okay, are we back? We're back. Okay, so if you did not join me, oh no, what is going on? It says that it's... Okay, I wonder if something is going on with my internet. All right, I'm just going to keep rolling with this. But if you didn't join me for the first one, then just know that you can go to the Wool and Fiber Arts page and do a search for Alana Wilcox, and you can see all of the videos that I posted. Okay, so you can go check out and see what the level 1 coursework was about. So for level 2, there was a couple of topics that got covered. So I'm just gonna talk about them briefly, and then I'll show the assignments. So yeah, movie barcode, yep. Sorry, I get distracted. Anyway, my apologies. Okay, so the topics that were covered were natural dyes, worsted spinning, and worsted prep. So I'll show you those homework assignments and what that means. Then there was a problem fleece exercise, and that was kind of interesting. We were given a fleece that had some type of flaw on purpose, and we had to figure out how to go about remedying it. So I'll share that with you. And then there was a final project, right? So I had to take all of the information that I learned over those 9 days and then apply it to a project. And I had to document the time. I had to document the expenses in it. So it was pretty interesting going through that whole process. And we also were exploring twist direction. So I'm going to start off with the natural dyes, and then I'll work my way through. So if you have any questions about anything that I'm sharing with you, like feel free to type it in the comments. I'm able to see those. There might be a little bit of a lag. So I'll show an assignment and then I'll check and see if there's any questions. And I can also answer questions at the end. Okay, so for the natural dyeing, there was a couple of components. So I'm just going to switch over to my overhead camera. So just give me 1 second. All right. So hopefully you can see this over here. So this was our first introduction, or our first experience in the course with natural dyeing. And what I loved about the course is that you could go in as someone that didn't know anything. And there was a lot of spinners who joined the course. And again, it's up in Canada, in Halliburton. This year was supposed to be a level 1 and it got canceled. So I don't know if they're going to run a level 1 next year or what the procedure is going to be. But you could go in not knowing anything really about spinning, and everything was taught. And so I went in with the knowledge of acid dyeing, but I wasn't really that good with natural dyes. I didn't have a lot of experience with it. I took a workshop once, but that was the extent of it. So the first thing that we had to do when we went home was we had to forage, or come up with supplies to do natural dyeing. Now, I don't remember if it was a requirement or not that we actually had to harvest the supplies, or if we could order it. But I figured, if I'm going to do natural dyeing, go all in, right? So I went to a local, I don't know, it was someone's house that they were selling fruits and stuff on the side, and they had elderberries. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I'm going to try to use elderberries. So I'm going to move this picture up a little bit so you can see. All right, so over here, those are what elderberries look like when they grow. If you don't know, I'm from Brooklyn, so it's not like this is something that I've really seen. And so the course, okay, so the course is offered up in Halliburton, and that's in Canada. So it's about 3 hours northeast of Toronto. So it took me about 6 hours from Rochester to get there. So yeah, so I got the berries. Now, when I got the berries, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, I had little friends that were accompanying me. So there were snails that were hanging out with these berries. So this is real natural dyeing. You don't get this kind of experience when you use acid dyes. So I soaked the berries in water, and so that was overnight. Then I cooked them, and so it's kind of cool to see the water changing color. Okay, now after I did that, I had to write up, so you can see just how extensive, everything is about this coursework, okay? So, you have to include how you did the dyeing, all of your notes on it. Just, this is really, really intense. And so in year 1, all of the fiber that we worked with, it was raw fleece, okay? So we weren't allowed to do anything that was commercially prepared. And so over here, we had to do a fleece sample, and we could use commercial yarn for this, okay? So for mine, I decided to use white yarn and gray yarn just to see what would happen. I don't know if that was a requirement or not, but I wanted to see how the color would shift if it was an over dye. And I used some fleece. So over here are the different colors that I got. And so they had different mordants. So these were all let me see. I guess they weren't okay. So one had to be a pre-mordant, meaning that you added an auxiliary or like the binding agent before you applied the dye. Then this was in the pot mordanted yarn, and then this was after. So you can actually apply the dye first and then mordant after. So like I said, I'm not really an expert natural dyer. It's not my wheelhouse, but it's something that I had the experience of doing, and I was very grateful for it because, you know, now I can see the relationship between things that take place in acid dyeing versus natural dyeing, and just to have that exposure was a really great thing. And then over here I had samples of the fleece. Okay, so not only did I have to use yarn, but I also had to use fleece. So over here, we had to have different types of baths. So not only did we use a mordant, but we had to like use chemicals or different types of chemical reactions to try to like push the color in one direction or another. So I had my notes on that. So that was one part of the natural dyeing. Now the next part was not the actual dyeing itself, because we did do a considerable amount of dyeing in class. So let me just get this all put back. As you can see, there's a lot of mounting and attaching to the cardstock, right? So to keep track of all these notes. So even though I did this, you know, years ago, I still have meticulous notes, and so it just really helps you keep organized. It is part of the coursework that you have to document it, but still, it's really helped me be more accurate in my record keeping. Okay, so these were all of the different dyes that we used when we were in class. So here, I'll hold it up so you can see. Okay, so those are all the different natural dyes that we used. And I think this one might have been year 3 because there was cochineal. So in year 2, we did like simple natural dyes, like, you know, stuff that you can find on the side of the road, like walnut, you know, I guess what would be referred to as like the beginner level of acid dyes. And then these ones were the more complicated ones. Because I think cochineal was in year 3. But what was cool is we had to do these tests, right? So we had to do a light fast test and a wash fast test. And there was another one, we had to do a crocking test, but I don't think we had to mount that one. We only had to mount these two. So when you look at it, like some dyes, if they're exposed to sunlight, they will fade, okay? And so the more that it's exposed, the lighter it will get. Now, I don't really notice too much with these. We had to basically like lay a paper towel over it and then keep shifting it after a week. So this was a 3-week sample, but then we also had to wash them. So some colors did fade or get less vibrant, but again, it wasn't anything like super noticeable. Okay, so I did write about it, and you had to document, you know, if it was sunny or not, if it was cloudy, you know, what color the water was, all this stuff. And then this was like the yarn before it was dyed. So we have a lot of the before samples and then the after, and just a lot of, you know, analyzing. So we're just always looking to see like, okay, if you do this, what happens? If you do this, what happens? And it just gives you a very like well-rounded, like I said, experience, even if you're not necessarily into natural dyes. You know, I haven't really done natural dyeing since, and, you know, all the more power to you if that's your thing. But it, like I said, it's just really good exposure to every single facet of what a spinner might encounter or potentially would want to encounter. So that was the dyeing component. Yes, so let's see. The next part was the spinning assignments. So over here, this is binder year 2. Okay, so worsted and natural dyeing. And you can see, again, I'm trying to just keep really good records of everything. Not necessarily for my own personal preference. It's just that this was what was kind of drilled into us, you know, to just make sure you keep really good records. This way, if you go back and, you know, you want to do something different, you'll know what you did to make those changes or to be able to repeat it. So I'm just going to try to get this so that you can see it. Okay. So this was our first experience using commercially prepared top. Okay, now as far as the difference of what exactly does that mean, well, over here I have some comb top. So if you look at it, you can see how there are like these streaks or striations in it, right? So the grain of the fiber is going up and down. So this is comb top. And over here, this is carded wool. So you can see how it's kind of like all going in different directions, and it's not really there isn't really a grain. It's just kind of like all different, you know, orientations of the fiber. So this was more year one when we did the woolen spinning, the carding, right? So if you are familiar with these tools over here, okay, so these are hand cards, right? That's how you would prepare the fiber to make either roving or just carded fiber. But this was the year where we were using a tool that looks like this, okay? So these are our mini hand combs, and this is going to give you a preparation where there's no short fibers. You just have the longest fibers. It removes vegetable matter, and it's just a really wonderful preparation. Most people, when they go and buy commercially prepared fiber, like not from a mill or from a shepherd, but like if you're gonna go buy something, you know, like Ashland or like Ashford or like any of those, it's going to be more like this, where there's a grain in the fiber. And so you can see, you know, that all the fibers are parallel. So this is comb tops. This was the very first time that we were allowed to use commercially prepared fiber, and that was so great because I mean, you know, yeah, like working with raw wool, you know, yeah, it's cool. I mean, if that's your thing, you know, no judging here. Just me personally, I like to be able to just go straight into spinning, and I don't want to have to deal with like the greasy, dirty, you know, fleeces. I mean, they smell wonderful, and it's a great experience to have that. But I really just like to go straight to spinning. So over here, this was our first time where we were allowed to use top. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to take this out just so you can see. So not only did, you know, we have to document what did the fiber look like before, what did the yarn look like that we spun, but we had to document, if you can see this over here, so we had to document, you know, how many wraps per inch were the singles, how many wraps per inch was the ply, where did we get the fiber from, like the supplier, how long was it, how did we spin it, what direction did we spin it in, if we could count like how many twists per inch went into it. So it's just a lot of information that we had to document. And so I would say that, you know, the spinning part probably took like one night, right? But then it was the documentation, the write-ups. But the one thing that really helped me as a spinner over here is this word right here. See, I'm going to go really close because it's like super important. Let's see, it's going to come, is it going to be in focus? Okay, the word is end use. I don't know if it's going to be in focus or not. My camera's being kind of funny. But end use, right? So anytime we spun, we always had to think about what are we spinning for? Even if we're not making the project, we still had to think about what are we spinning for. And that is another thing that really made it such a different, I guess, like experience for me. Because a lot of times I would sit down and spin something because I thought it was beautiful, right? I love the colors, or I love the texture. I love the hand of the fiber, how it felt. But I never really thought about, oh, okay, if I'm going to make a pair of socks, I probably shouldn't spin it very, you know, light and airy and low twist, right? So this course really helped me, you know, think about what is it that I'm spinning for and how can I make the best choices for those projects. So like over here, this was a drafting exercise. So we had to do over the finger spinning. And we had usually the course ended in August, and so we would have until about like March usually to complete all of these assignments that I'm showing you. So I would say that once the summer ended until spring started, I would refer to that as homework season, right? Like I didn't have enough time to like make projects or things like presents for people for Christmas or anything like that. Like it was just homework season, and all I did was spend, I would say, anywhere between 200 to 250 hours every year on homework assignments. And if you think I'm kidding, you can ask people that took the course how much time goes into this. So it's not just the 9 days, but it's actually, you know, the time to do these homework assignments as well. So this one over here was kind of interesting. So this is a Dorset fleece, so that's a down wool, and we had to spin it true woolen and true worsted. So we had to like card it and spin it woolen on one, and then comb it and spin it worsted on the other. And so it's kind of an interesting, I don't know if it's gonna show up for the texture so that you can see it, but there is definitely like a halo and a squishiness to the woolen one, and if you squeeze the worsted one, it feels a little bit more dense. So that was another exercise. So this one over here, we had to flick a lock and then spin from the locks. So basically we would use this tool over here, a flicker, and we would take a lock. So let me see if I can show you. Okay, so I would have my denim, and I would take a lock and I would flick it, and then I would flick it and open it up, and then it would look like a fluffy, well, it wouldn't look like that one. Let's see. Okay, I'll do this one. So see, it just kind of opens it up and it removes any short bits, any cut ends. So I'm going to do the other side. And then after you flick one end, you would take it and then flip it the other way. And you would get it all open on both sides, so the cut end and the tip end. And then you would spin it. You wouldn't do anything else but spin it. So now this is ready for spinning. So I would just sit and I would spin it like that. So that's what that exercise was about. Let's see what else we have. It's been a while since I've looked at these. Okay, so this one over here, the title says semi-worsted spinning. And again, if I don't remember what I did, I can be like, oh, okay. So this one I use hand combs, and I guess it was in the middle of the winter because it looks like I wrote a spray bottle with water and 2 teaspoons of laundry softener, right? So just keeping these really well-documented notes will let me know, okay, maybe I don't like the way this feels. Maybe the laundry softener did something to it, and I should avoid doing that in the future, right? So it's just really important, I think, in keeping really good documentation, just so that when you revisit things that you've done in the past that either you like or you don't like, you can make those changes. Okay, so let's see. All of these here, oh my goodness, look at this. Okay. So all of these were different. I don't even know why I did all of these. But so this one says combed from flicked locks on 5-pitch combs, sprayed with water softener. Now I'm guessing that I did that because when I was going to comb the fiber, it was probably really staticky because again I was doing this in the middle of the winter, right? So then this one says combed from intact locks on 5-pitch combs, sprayed with water softener and placed in damp towel. Okay, so I must have allowed the moisture to be absorbed by the wool so that it would have less static. This one says combed from intact locks, handheld Luette combs. So that was those little, wait, where did they go? That was these ones over here. So there's different sizes and styles of combs. So I tried different ones. This one says flick locks on hand carder with butt end orientation, sprayed locks with water softener. So this one is butt ends were cut to remove felted ends, sprayed with water softener, and laid onto carding drum on electric carder set on slow speed. And then this bottom one says fiber was carded 3 times with intact locks, lashed butt ends onto hand carders, and pulled through diz. So again, there's so many different ways that you can prepare. And if I hold this up, I don't know if you can see the way that the yarns all look a little bit different. It's not like there's one that's, exactly the same as its neighbor. So all of these choices that we make as a spinner, especially if we're starting with fleece, really are going to impact the outcome of our yarn and then the fabric that we produce. Okay, only a couple more and then I'll share with you the final project. So this one over here, this one was kind of an interesting one to see, because sometimes, I don't know if you've ever heard spinners that will spin their fiber and then they'll take it off of the bobbin that they spun on, and then they'll spin it through the wheel again to basically put it onto a different bobbin. And the reason for that is that when you're spinning a lock, right? So here, I'm gonna hold this so that you could see it. Okay, so okay, so over here, right, like this is the end that the sheep had his hair cut. So this is where it was clipped, and then this is the tip. So when the hair grows in this direction, it's kind of like a pine needle, right? So that there are like these barbs that kind of stick off of it. Like if you've ever seen any of those hair commercials, when the hair is very dry and it kind of like curls out because of the edges of the follicle of the hair. So if I go from the butt end, or if I go from here and I smooth it down this way, it's going to give me a very smooth yarn. So a lot of spinners, especially if they're combing, will spin with the butt end oriented towards the orifice, right? And then they'll slick it down this way. However, if you take it and you orient it the other way, now you're taking those scales and you're opening them up, so you're gonna get more of a bloom or like a halo. So basically, if you think of someone that has straight hair, and they have it like all slicked down, or someone that has curly hair after coming out of a shower, if they brush it, it gets really frizzy. Okay, so the idea that if you're going against that hair follicle grain, it's going to change the look of the yarn. So it's not, let me see, doesn't really feel very different. I don't know if you can see a difference. This was fiber, so this was Polworth. So I don't know if it's more noticeable on different, breeds compared to others, but it's just an interesting exercise to try, because, if someone says, oh, hey, this is the way that I do it, and they don't really know why they do it, sometimes it's kind of interesting to experiment and see, does what that extra step you're putting in really make a difference or not? So for me, I was like, no, it doesn't, not for me. I didn't notice it. However, when I'm spinning, when I'm spinning comb top, I will definitely notice that one end will draft easier than the other. Okay, so before I start spinning, I will give like a gentle little tug on one end and then a little tug on the other. And so when I tug it, I'll say, okay, is this coming out easier on this end, or if I tug it here? So the pink is drafting way easier. So if I'm going to spin, I'm gonna start from the pink end. Okay, and so that's definitely a tip that I would suggest you do just before you start spinning, because you might find one end will spin easier or with less resistance than the other end. Okay, so let's see what else they had me do. Okay, so this was the problem fleece, right? Check this out. This is kind of cool. So we had to do different things where we had to like pull on the end of the lock. So to do a soundness test, right? So if you've never worked with fleece before, if you pull on it, it should have like a little like spring or give to it. It shouldn't break. Okay, so if you think of, even human hair, if you pull on it and it's been chemically treated, or if you've had an illness and you had to take certain kind of medicines, it can affect the strength of your hair. So the same thing with sheep, right? So if you pull on it and it doesn't break on you, then you know that the lock is sound. Now sometimes you can have a gorgeous lock like this, but maybe the sheep wasn't wearing a jacket. So on mine, I don't know if you can see here. Let me see if I can take it out of the baggie. But basically there is a ton. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to. Okay, yeah, I don't want to break it. But over there's like vegetable matter or hay in the fleece. Okay, so basically the way that I chose to remedy this problem fleece was by flicking it. Now, I noticed that there was a great deal of volume lost, and it could be because I didn't know what the breed of sheep was. So I'm just going to take a guess that if it had vegetable matter in it and there was a lot of loss, it probably was a down breed or a sheep that was used for meat production, and that the fleece wasn't treated with care, that sometimes like a hand spinner's fleece might be treated with like a coat, or giving the animal food that's not going to get all stuck in its fleece. So the wool was fine, it was intact, it wasn't damaged, but because it had so much vegetable matter in it, someone might throw it away. So I found that there was almost half of the weight of the wool that I was working with lost after flicking it. So there is a degree of loss. However, I'm losing the stuff that I don't want to be in my yarn anyway, right? But just the time that it takes to do that, again, it's personal preference, but I would rather just enjoy the spinning process, or I would rather work with a fleece, that I'm going to get enjoyable results from, and I'm not going to see like a lot of waste. And I don't know, I get that's just me. But anyway, all right, so let's see, I have one last one in this binder, and then at the end of every year, I think except like year 3, we had to do a final project. So I'm really excited to share that one with you. Okay, so over here, this was yarn that was spun with S-twist and Z-twist. So I'm going to hold this up close to the camera. I don't know if you can see the grain or the direction of the angle between the two plies. So can you see how the one on the left, this one is slanting like this, and then the angle on this one is slanting like that. Okay, so it's kind of cool when you look at it, you can see that the direction of the slant, it's going in different directions, and that's because one skein was spun with S or counterclockwise twist first and then plied Z, and then the other one was spun Z and then plied S. So the idea that you can spin a single in either direction and ply it in either direction, and then when you work with that yarn, what does it feel like? What does it look like? So sometimes people that crochet really prefer the S spun skeins, because it also depends on how you use your hook. And I don't have a crochet hook on me, but I'm going to use like the marker, right? So if I go and I wrap my yarn this way, I could be taking twist out, versus if I go this way. So depending upon how you wrap the yarn, you could either be inserting or removing twist. And so you might find yarn start to disintegrate or fall apart because as you're wrapping the yarn around the hook, you're basically removing twist. So if you don't feel like changing what your hand is doing because you enjoy crocheting the way that you do, then you can modify how you spin those yarns. So that's just another little tip for you. Okay, so after I was done with all of this, right? So imagine from, let's see, so like I said, from September to January. So now I have to do this final project. So for my final project, I made this little guy over here, okay? So this is a little bathtub, and if I go like that, you can see there's like little bubbles with little faces. If you've ever seen the designer, I think it's Mochi Mochi Land, but she just, Anna just does the most amazing little critters, and so I didn't really want to do something that was going to take a long time because we had to document the entire process, okay? So I have a binder dedicated to what I did for my project. Now, when we did the projects, we had to document everything. Okay, yeah, so here you go. So there's the pattern, right? His name is Tubby, and it's Mochi Mochi Land, the pattern. So the first thing that I did was I looked up what is the commercial yarn that the designer is recommending. And the reason for that is because a lot of times people don't like write patterns for hand spun yarn, right? So as a spinner, I need to know, okay, what am I working with so that, hang on, why is this not in focus? So you guys can see. Okay, there we go. So what is it, what are the properties and qualities of the commercial yarn, and if I buy that yarn and I analyze it, it's going to really help me spin to that specification so that I know my yarn is going to be well suited for a commercial pattern. So over here, let me see if I can take this out. I have commercial yarn. Okay, so I did a little swatch. That's the commercial yarn. And then over here, I have the commercial skein. Okay, so this was kind of like what I was going to trying to match. So now I tried and I sampled 3 different fleeces. Okay, so I sampled Blueface Leicester, I sampled some Romney, and then I sampled some Cormo. So it's kind of interesting to see, you know, how do the yarns look like in swatch form from the different breeds. And I also have the yarns over here. So, you know, you can see I didn't have that much left, I guess, of the Blueface Leicester, but it was just really interesting to sample them out. So once I did the swatches, I decided that I liked the Cormo. So hang on. That I felt the springiness in the Cormo gave it that really like bouncy quality that the commercial yarn had. So again, I had to document everything and keep everything. So over here, I had the grease locks, right? So I had to demonstrate and show that I started with everything in the grease. So I had to scour it, I had to prepare it and comb it. And then this was the final yarn used in the project. This was the grease lock, so before it was washed. This was after it was washed. And then this was the single and the wraps per inch of the ply. And again, I had to document everything. Okay, so everything had to be written up and documented. But this was right around where I was getting into dyeing with the acid dyes and really trying to match colors. Okay, and because I was spinning this yarn for myself, like I wasn't buying what the pattern recommended, I really wanted to get the color to match. So what I did was I went into Photoshop and I tried to pick the color from the pattern, and I took like a visual average of the numbers that it was giving me, and I dyed the yellow and the blue to match, you know, what the commercial yarn colors were. So I had that, and I had dyed it in lock form first, and then I must have flicked and combed it there. So again, I have all of my notes, all of the documentation, right? So how did I comb it? How did I spin it? How did I dye it? How did I wash it? You know, everything, like intense stuff. So then over here, this was the final project. And what's interesting is that between this one and my year 1 assignment, I'd used Cormo for both. So it's kind of nice that there are some you know, fleeces and fibers that, you know, breeds of sheep that you can use both. Here, let's come back so I can have a face-to-face with you. Okay, so that you can use the same, you know, fleece, but it can have different preparations, different outcomes. The first one I did was a pair of gloves, you know, but I don't generally wear the things that I make, and so it can be kind of, I don't know, sad, like I spent all of this time making stuff and then I don't really use it. So the idea of having little decorations like this little doll around the house, it made me happy to know that I could make something and still appreciate it and use it even if I'm not wearing it. Because a lot of the stuff that I make, or the earlier on stuff, it's in plastic bins. So now I'm trying to be very mindful in what I create, and that I want to be mindful of what colors do I like to wear, what kinds of textures and weights of yarn do I like to wear, right? I don't like things that are super bulky and heavy and just kind of make me feel way down. I like things that are more lighter, airier, delicate. So, you know, paying attention to what are the things that I actually wear and use first, and then pick things that suit that, is making the process so much more enjoyable in the time of creating it, because now I know I'm going to actually use it. So I'm actually using this as an enjoyable decoration to look at. I have another Here, hang on. See? So I'm not really good at growing plants. So I made this little cactus, and I don't know if you can see, but those little plastic spikes are actually the bristles from a white plastic scrub brush. So, I get a kick out of making things that I can enjoy and use, even if it's not necessarily a sweater or a shawl. So I appreciate you coming out tonight, or whenever you're choosing to watch this video, if it's not tonight when it's live. But thank you so much for coming and listening to me. I hope you enjoyed seeing everything about the course that I shared with you. I'll go back and I'll check the comments real quick to see if there's any questions about it. So if you want to know more about it, I'm happy to answer it. But I have, like I said, 6 years of homework binder. So this was just year 2. So if there's interest, the next time they have the teacher spotlight, if Ellen will have me back, I'm happy to come back and share those binders with you. So I believe year 3 was when we had to experiment with different fabric creation techniques. So knitting, crocheting, weaving, we could do needlepoint. Like, it wasn't limited to just, like 3 things. We literally had to explore all the different ways that yarn could be used and pick 5 of those techniques. So that was kind of intensive. And then also, I believe it was the exploration of grist, and I didn't quite understand what that was. So that's something that it took a long time to really understand. I thought that they wanted me to spin a fine yarn and then a thick yarn, and I didn't understand how like twist and amount of fiber all work together. So it took a while for the concept to click. I know for beginner spinners or intermediate spinners, the idea of grist can be a bit confusing, but once it clicks, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. So that was an important year. And then also, I believe in year 3, we were now able to add mohair. So that was another facet of it. I don't believe that there was dyeing involved, but we did have to submit a sheep breed book, and so I have that too, so I can share that with you. And then year 4 was when it went on to exotic fibers. 5 was like cellulose and plant fibers, and then 6 was synthetic. So I definitely have a lot more that I can share with you and talk to you about if you're interested in having me come back to present this stuff. So as far as this program, the difference between Olds College and the OHS, it's different. I want to say like hosts, right? And I'm not really familiar 100% with what the Olds program was. I know that when I was looking into it, I didn't really know where Alberta was in relationship to Rochester, but someone from my guild had gone through the OHS one, so it's the Ontario Hand Weavers and Spinners. And it's basically like an organization of multiple guilds that came together. So I guess something similar to like Hand Weavers Guild of America, but not quite. They have like chapters and branches. And so it's put on, and it was held through this college. So in Halliburton, there's a college there called Fleming College of Arts. I believe that's what it's called. It's been a while. And so you could go there, and they have these like cabins that you could stay at, and you like are basically roommates with people that are just as excited about fiber as you, dyeing as you, and it's really a wonderful camaraderie kind of building experience, because you then rely on each other to like share your ideas and thoughts on the coursework and just approaching spinning in general. And it's a very I feel like it's a very worthwhile experience, but it is a big dedication. It's way more than just like doing a breed study or a sheep study or something like that. It's a very big time commitment. And then if you're really excited about it after the 6 years of doing that, because it's consecutive, right? So you have to do each year successively, one after the other. Then you can go on to get a master spinner certificate, which is basically where you propose an in-depth study that hasn't been presented before, and then you explore this idea. And that's what I was saying my book was about. This was my in-depth study. Okay. So yeah, Vanessa, I love the cactus too, right? Because, you know, so many times we can make stuff and we don't really enjoy it or use it. I don't know. I mean, I love wearing cotton fabric. That's my fabric wearing choice, but I love working with wool. I like wearing things that are more muted, but I like spinning things that are colorful. So, you know, trying to find that sweet spot of making things that you enjoy and can use or consume, or, you know, that can make it a worthwhile experience, and then actually, you know, like doing it, that, you know, that's a great match if you can do that. Okay, so yeah, so as far as like the woolen and worsted goes, if you want to see a little bit more about that, I shared the drafting styles and the preparation styles in the wool and fiber arts group. So if you just go to search when it's open here, I can see if I can do the share. So let's see here. Okay, so if you go, I don't know where it's gonna go. Okay. Well, anyway, so yeah, if you just go to the Facebook page, right, that we're in right now, and then you do a search. Hang on, let me come back so I can see or you can see my face. Okay. So yeah, if you just do a search on the side, and you just put Alana Wilcox in, you'll see. I think there's another tag that they were using, like learn about, or something like, I don't know, something with like learning or like educational links, but all of my posts that I've done videos on have been tagged with that. So you can go back and see, and if you have any more questions, you know, feel free to ask. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Let's see if there's any more questions. Yeah, I don't know, Vanessa, if they have anything in. Oh, okay. There's a request for the Viking hat. I have to find out where to. Okay, I see it, Jim. I'll go grab it in a second. But yeah, like it's one of those things that I had to travel 6 hours for to get to, and I wasn't even the one that traveled the furthest. There was someone from Germany who flew over. So, you know, for what you're getting, it's basically, you know, like I said, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. for 9 days straight, just this really intense, you know, learning opportunity. And you're learning from people. All of the instructors have gone through the program themselves. So you're learning from people who were kind of sitting in your seat, you know, fascinated about the whole gamut of what spinning and what falls under the spinning umbrella could entail. And you're learning from them, you know, and so there's definitely a bonding that happens once you go through this experience with other people, and you come out not only knowing more about the individual aspects of spinning, but I think it gives you a greater appreciation for all fiber arts, right? So it's not just limited to, you know, wheel spinning or drop spindling or knitting or crocheting. It's like you get to see everybody that comes to the table with different talents. Like we had, you know, amazing knitters there and amazing weavers there, and I would just look at the stuff that they would make, and, you know, my jaw would drop, you know, and we all had the things that we were really great at. You know, and so to be able to share that and be in that community with people, knowing that on an annual basis you could come back and reconnect with them, and I'm still friends with most of them, you know, that stuck around to the end. So we really formed a tight-knit family going through it together. Okay, so Jim, this is for you. He wants to see the Viking hat. All right, so this is the Viking hat. Okay, so this is kind of a cool project because, and I know that it's not authentic, like Vikings didn't actually like have the horns, but this was the pattern that I followed. Now, just a little bit of a backstory on it before I put it on. I'm somebody that loves facial hair, okay? And I'm very jealous of my husband because his ability to grow hair is like by far like the best that I've ever seen on a human being. And he does it so effortlessly that it makes me really jealous. So I thought, well, you know, if I wanted to have this like luscious, gorgeous beard like my husband, you know, I can't grow it, but I can certainly spin it and knit it. So I found this, I think it's called like a dwarven battle bonnet or something. And I followed it. Now, what's awesome about this is that it's a combination of different fibers and different yarns. So like the sheepskin fuzzy yarn over here, that's a commercial yarn. This one over here was like an alpaca silk wool blend. And then this one over here is, I don't know if you can see it. Like, let me see if I can get. It's got like a halo on it. See, so it's kind of this like fuzzy. I think this is like a blend of Angora and very super fine merino, because I wanted it to have that like fuzzy bristly texture. But again, like I have really sensitive skin and I wouldn't want to wear that next to me. So, okay, hang on. Don't want to mess up my flower. So this is what I look like with the beard, you guys. Ready? Oh wait, one more thing. Okay, so what was awesome about this fiber here is at the time this was my hair color, and so like how I used the photograph of the tubby pattern to match the color, I tried to match the color of my hair so that when I wore it, you know, the top would match the bottom. So okay, hang on. Okay, guys, here you go. Oh man, I should wear this because I haven't gone to the hair salon in you know a couple of months, obviously, to get the haircut. But I think that's a pretty nice instant beard growth right there. Let's see if I can fix this. Okay, there you go. Now, what's interesting is I actually have a a mouth hole here. And what's also cool about it is like if you're going skiing or something, this is great for the winter, but you can also do like a little flippy uppy thing. There you go. See, so I can have an instant shave. I have no idea how men like eat, you know, and just all of the little fuzzies and fibers were going in my mouth and driving me crazy. So it's kind of nice that I wasn't born with having to deal with, you know, the facial hair growth component. But yeah, so this is my battle about it. Let's see here. The link for the course, yeah. So Vanessa, if you want, you can just add me as a friend on Facebook and like send me a private message, and I'll share you more information about it. Like I said, it's called the OHS Spinning Certificate course. Okay, yeah. So just because life doesn't give you gorgeous facial hair, that doesn't mean you can't grow your own, right? All right. So thank you again, everybody. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with me and listening to me talk about what goes into becoming a master spinner. And I also do private lessons too. So if there's something that you would like to learn more about in depth, I'm happy to do that as well. And it'll be set up similar to how it is over here, where you can see my hands doing the demonstration and we can have a conversation with one another. So I wish you all a wonderful evening or morning or whatever the next 24 hours has in store for you. And again, thank you so much for joining me. Take care.